I was just describing this in general terms. Tell people what it is you do, what it is you focus on, because this isn't mental health, this is mental performance. Describe that for people and what it is you do.
Yeah, so I think just for my own athletic journey, so we follow our passions in life. So a little bit about my story was just really liking understanding how we push our bodies, how we push those limits, understanding from the physiological standpoint. So my exercise science degree, really wanting to understand that. And through that journey, I discovered just how powerful that mind is. And I saw myself drawn to and wanting to know more about those that were successful, right? And how did they do what they did, and how did they continually stand at the top of the podium, right? Win the national championships, win whatever championship you're after. And so through that, I discovered more of the psychology aspects and just how powerful our mind is, and just how much our mind just shapes everything that we do. So that led me kind of back to really understanding what that performance mindset is, and what the best of the best do, the environments that create these winning teams, these winning organizations, and that's kind of where I live and breathe, and love to do that kind of work.
Yeah. Now, the reason this fascinates me so much is when I was going through my training, I did clinical psychology and I did behavioral medicine or medical psychology. For people that are listening to us, is a study of where our psychological functioning and physiological functioning merge and interact. Now, my focus had to do with disease and disease management. Yours has to do with performance.
Yep.
And I'm a strong believer that success leaves clues. So when you start studying one champion, then the next champion, and another champion, there are patterns, right? There are clues that it leaves. Not everyone is unique. There are things that you can study, learn, and find patterns to. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, and just to kind of step back with what you shared of our lenses were basically from opposite angles, right? So from the clinical standpoint, what you studied and were trained in, and then I'm looking at the opposite, right? So we're looking at happy, healthy, flourishing people, successful people, and really trying to understand how do they live their lives, what are the decisions that they make, what are these environments that help to support them, and so really taking that positive psychology lens with also that performance lens of really understanding what that group of people are doing and how they are having that success.
Is there a distinct difference in terms of a set of characteristics, a set of values, behaviors, beliefs, mental performance-wise, between those that routinely stand on the top of that podium versus those that might be matched physically in a lot of characteristics, but they just don't ever get to the top of that hill?
The short answer is yes. We can definitely talk and dive all into all of that for sure.
What are the core characteristics that you've identified, and are they attainable? If there are people that don't get to the podium, don't get to the top of the heap, but maybe have the physical characteristics, are there things that they can do? Can they make those changes?
Right. Well, as you know, change is hard, right? But I think in terms of if I go back and I look at, I'll share a little bit here. So I competed in the 2008 Olympic trials and did not make the Olympic team. So that was a turning point in my life where it was like, well, what happened here, right? Which led me back to school to then really dive in and understand, what did I miss here, right? How did these people that I've beat before make this team and I didn't? So through that, when I first started doing this research, it was really trying to understand from the athlete's perspective what was going on, right? So in terms of how do I approach my training? What's my environment looking like? And so I was really diving into self-determination theory, and then a positive psychology theory, PERMA. So I can speak more onto those. But really what I was looking at there was understanding more of that intrinsic motivation and self-determination that one has to have in order to achieve these great heights. And then there's different elements within that. So do I have autonomy? So am I making decisions for myself? Am I the one that's showing up at practice pushing myself? Or is it from this outside external source that's pushing me, right? So stronger forms of motivation would be me showing up, me pushing myself, right? Second part to self-determination is a sense of belonging and connection, right? So I matter. It matters that I show up to my team, to my coach. They care about me. I care about them. There's this connection of human element that's there. The third part of self-determination theory is competence. So do I have the knowledge and skills? Am I working at and getting better at this skill set every day, right? So in the NFL, am I getting better at my position work? Am I improving upon these things? Am I getting faster, stronger? Am I learning the installs in our game plan, right? So am I building that way? And those lay the foundation for intrinsic motivation, which is the strongest form of motivation, which that leads to like a self-determined person. There are some different things that come in where environments can either help that motivation that's within us, or it can hurt some of those things. So,
well, let's break this down for a minute, because you're talking about intrinsic motivation. Is what you're saying at the foundation of this, the person's got to really want it themselves. They can't be doing this for coaches, spouses, parents. They got to really want this. It's got to be for them.
That's 1,000% correct. Yes. And that has to come from within that individual person, right? And then this kind of goes to my last research project, where I was really looking at personality characteristics of who made the team versus who did not. And the one of the defined traits that was discovered was this need to achieve, right? So this person has to be the driver in terms of, I set hard goals. It's really important to me. I know how to attain those goals, and I'm driven to go after those really, really hard things, right? So that was like another determining factor, which just kind of just helps to strengthen that piece of you've got to want it.
Is that something that is either there or it's not, or is that something that you can get people to focus on and attain?
So I would say this is a great question that many people will have debates on. And my stance is that I am a believer in the human spirit, and I'm a believer in people. And so I would say that yes, these are things that we can work on. But I think it's really important within the sport environment, if we want to talk about that. It's really important of what that environment is, right? So we know what positive environments can do. We know what supporting one another, giving words of encouragement does for the human being. And so I think that, yes, we can absolutely help this by building these very good environments for people to be able to reach those high heights.